I'm Abby.
And I'm Uchenna.
And this is Shine Your Eye, a podcast about the good and the Wahala, here at home, back home, and around the world.
So join us as we inform, inspire, and enlighten all that shines bright in our community. Welcome to the Shine Your Eye podcast. This week, we're celebrating Pearlena Igbokwe, a Nigerian-American trailblazer making waves at NBC Entertainment, before diving into the emotional journeys of Annie Idibia and Annie Edo from Young, Famous, and African. Plus, we'll share what we're digging this week. I'll surprise you with that, and it'll be a great show. Before we get into a Young, African, and Fabulous, we're going to discuss the praise report. Nigerians and Nigerian-Americans are doing extraordinary things around the globe, and today's spotlight is on Pearlena Igbokwe, a true trailblazer in the entertainment industry who's making major moves at NBC Universal. Pearlena has officially been named the chairman of television studios, NBC Entertainment, and Peacock Scripted. This is a monumental step, and she will now oversee NBC Entertainment scripted and unscripted programming, late-night shows, live events, and specials, in addition to all scripted originals on Peacock. And that's not all. She'll also continue her role as the head of Universal Studio Group, where she oversees Universal Television, Universal Content Productions, and Universal International Studios. Go ahead, girl.
Mm-hmm.
She is running the show literally. Isn't that impressive, Abby?
Yes, Niger no they carry last.
At all. It's just inspiring to see her because I thought about when I was younger, I didn't see people like me or people who had my names in entertainment. So to have younger generations seeing her name, it may inspire others to go in that realm.
Absolutely.
So tell me, what are Nigerians mostly told to go into for career by their parents?
Doctor,
Uh-huh.
lawyer,
Uh-huh.
engineer,
Yeah.
accountant,
Mm-hmm.
nurse,
Mm-hmm.
pharmacist.
Medical industry, just
anywhere.
Yes.
Except not LVN. No, I'm just kidding. We want
But
the
many
highest.
of us start there.
Yes.
But
yes.
we continue. You cannot stop there.
You cannot stop there. No.
Mhm.
If it doesn't require more than 1 degree, you have not reached.
That's all.
Yeah, I
So-
think those are the main ones. The nonprofit that I work with, NAMC, we actually do a program called Career Discovery every year, where we bring high school students, and now we've expanded it to underclassmen in college.
Awesome.
And we have panelists who are from a range of careers. And when we were coming up with that program, we wanted to make sure we do our people justice and have the lawyers and the doctors and the engineers. But it was and is part of what we're trying to do, to have the other occupations represented. SLPs like you, for sure, because that's a way to, work and do good work in the community. But also photographers. People make a good living.
A good living.
Yeah. TV, acting, models. Like we try to bring a lot of different careers, because not everyone has to be a doctor to make a good living.
Exactly. It reminds me of a story, the comedian Yvonne Orji, when she told her mom she wanted to get into comedy, and she said, you're going to be a jester. A jester is, professional clown, pretty much, because she was told to go to medical school. And I believe at some point she did, or she was pre-med. I'm not sure of her story, but we are just told to go that way. So I'd be very interested and curious to know how she got there, and what her parents thought to go into television and media, which is not very common. So happy to see her name, and I just really enjoyed, like I said, learning more about Pearlena, because so often Nigerians are pushed into certain fields, and so it was good to see her.
Yeah, and
outside of that.
I hope that we get to. I mean, she's in a very high position, but does her name still show up in the credits every time? Because I love it when I actually still watch the credits after the show or the movie is done, so that I can see our names, because we're there.
We are there. Let's see. I guess we will know coming soon,
Yes.
with all these scripted television that she'll be over. So congrats, Pearlena.
Congratulations.
Black Girl Magic. And up next is our Wednesday Wahala. So, Wednesday Wahala, what is Wahala? What does that even mean?
Ooh, Wahala is
Trouble?
trouble.
But we're not talking necessarily about trouble all the
Right.
time, right? It's current events, current gist, things that are being brought to the media, that is discussed in our community, within our social groups.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not necessarily saying that this is bad things,
It can be
but
good trouble.
it could be good trouble too. So this is just what we're going to call this segment when we're discussing current events, current topics that has our community enthralled for some way, one way or the another.
And this one definitely fits the bill.
Definitely. So we celebrated Pearlena earlier, but let's dive into the layered, emotional, and deeply compelling stories of young African and fabulous. Excuse me, young, famous, and African. Sorry about that. We got two powerful narratives I wanted to discuss and how that plays into our culture being Nigerian. These are both Nigerian women that are on that show, Annie Idibia and Annie Edo, and redefining motherhood and also talking about resilience in one's journey. So, who is Annie and who is Annie? Are you familiar with those two women?
So Annie, yes, because her
Okay.
last name is Idibia.
Okay.
And we all know Two-Face Idibia. So
Mhm.
she's the longtime wife.
I wouldn't say suffering,
Mm,
but long suffering wife.
yes, I think
Yes.
that's accurate. And I haven't, do you know what season they're on now? Is
Third
this
season.
Third season. I
Mhm.
think I saw some of the first season with my husband, which, by the way, I was not the one that selected that show. So my husband was watching this, and I
Uh-huh.
saw some of it, and I saw all the gist and things that are going on. So yeah, this is going to be
So
interesting.
you don't know Annie Edo? I'm
So-
surprised. 'Cause she's the bigger name of the two.
Yes, I feel. Did she ever live here?
She got married here.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's. I was I'm
Here in
like,
Houston.
I think she's got some Houston connection.
Yes.
That's I think what I remember her for. And then back then, would this be like college that she was here
I think it was later because I think I knew you and I knew you after.
after college? Okay, so
Yes.
around that time.
Unless maybe you know her from that time, maybe before my
I
time.
don't know her at all. Let me not put myself out. But I do remember her name being in our lexicon
Yes.
around that time.
You have
And
a friend that people often mistake that looks like her.
who's that?
Clara?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
If any adult walked into the studio right now, I would not be able to tell you it's her. I just know her name.
Mm-hmm.
So please.
Okay. Annie Edo is a Nollywood icon and one of the most respected actresses in African cinema with over 100 film credits. So do you not watch Nollywood movies?
I guess I'm outing myself. I don't watch it that much. I only watch when heavily recommended or when my nanny's watching and I have no choice.
That's where I am now with Nollywood when it's heavily recommended. So Annie is a multifaceted, multi-talented actress, model, and entrepreneur who has also made her mark in Nollywood, but she is more known for being the wife of Two-Face.
Idibia.
Yes, so that's how most people know her. So first we're going to discuss Annie and being vulnerable. So if you are on social media at this time, the algorithm is showing you anything about young African and fabulous, the most imitated person on there is Annie.
Mm.
And it's because of the way she shakes her head. And also there's some talk about mental health, possible use of, I don't know if I can say this word, but use of, I don't want to say drugs, but drugs.
Substances, okay.
Yes, substances.
Mm-hmm.
So first there's family drama that has been surrounded by her over the last year with her brother, Wisdom, who took to social media with shocking allegations that he accused her of introducing him to substances, claiming she's violent and even that she treated him like a slave.
Her own brother?
Her own brother
Okay.
did that. And, so they air in public grievances.
Are they estranged?
Well, he later apologized and said that what he said was not true. But, once you put it out there,
Can't unring a bell.
you can't unring a bell. And there has been talk during this current season that she looks different and that maybe that she is on substances. That's what people are saying. There have been rumors. We are not saying that is the truth. We're just saying what other people are saying. And also she lets us know during this season that she had a miscarriage in 2024 and she was pregnant with twins, and that was very overwhelming. And so that may also be why she's acting differently,
Right.
and why people are her cast members are saying, "What's wrong with Annie?" And
Right.
those of us that are viewing, and people have gone to social media to say, "Hey, leave her alone. She's a good person, but she's going through a difficult
Give
time."
her some space.
And then also, social media is also often not a forgiving space. And when you're down, people can often harp on that
And
and
kick you
and
while you're down.
kick you while you're down. And so these topics, mental health and substance abuse, is not often discussed within the Nigerian or African community, or the diaspora will often believe that it just doesn't, people say we don't do that, or it's not part of our community. But we know that it is. And oftentimes people who have mental health issues, they will often go
Medicate.
to substances that are not legal. And I have one of my good friends is a psychiatrist, a Nigerian psychiatrist, and she told me in the past that by the time most Nigerians would see her, they're at the point where they've gone beyond. It's because it happened so long. Because we often will pray it away or try to pray it away, or and may not, and feel there's some shame going to a doctor to discuss our mental illness. We may go to a pastor or a priest or just pray it away. So, any thoughts on that, on mental health and substance abuse within our community?
It's interesting. Like you said, we like to believe that this doesn't happen to us, but then we all have a person that we know or a family that we know that's dealt with this. And yes, it seems like often the solution that most people are given is to pray it away.
Yes.
And prayer does wonders.
It does.
But I don't know that prayer has solved many of these issues. And I don't know if it was last year or the year before, when there was a story in Houston about someone who was, oh yes, I'm remembering something, but someone in Houston who was involved negatively with the law. In fact, there was multiple, right? I'll take an aside. As Nigerians in America, our history is not that long. I mean, unless you go back to slavery, in which case, yes, it's very long. But recent immigration,
late 70s, early 80s was
right,
kind of when it started.
Yes. So we are at the stage now where those immigrants that may have come in the 70s have had kids and they're having kids,
Exactly.
Right? So now this is
third generation.
Yes. And I read the book Millionaire Next Door, and it talked about Irish people and other immigrants in the book, but it talked about the Irish immigrants and how they came, and when they weren't considered white when they first got here.
Yes.
And then give it some time, and their kids and their kids' kids started to look just like any other American.
Exactly.
The first generation that immigrates is just like, we got to get this done. I'll do anything. I'll work in the kitchen. I'll clean the toilets. Same thing for Nigerians that immigrated. Then the next generation, those people's kids, they slave and they work hard to put them into school and tell them to be the doctors and the lawyers and the engineers. And they do. And then they are really the people who,
assimilate later.
They assimilate, but they also are the ones that have maids, and they work for the man and all of that.
Yes.
Then their kids, they tell their kids that they can be anything they like because they were forced to be lawyers and engineers or whatever. So by the time you get to that third generation, we really do start to look like Americans. We are Americans.
Right.
If you don't let Trump tell it. But they are Americans by that time. So the longer that we are here, the more that our stories start to look like everyone else. Up until now, we have said, Naija no de carry last. Like we are special. And if you have a deep conversation with African Americans, they look at us like, why do you think that you're better than us? Because a lot of us come here with that mentality that I can work and we don't have the baggage of generations of Jim Crow and redlining and all of these things that have held our brethren down. But I say all of that to say that we are in the news more, and for regular things, for shootings, for someone having a mental health crisis and killing someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
That has happened.
It's happening more and more.
Yeah.
It is. And to go back to what you said about the generations, being a speech pathologist, I can bring a language aspect to it. And this is across all immigrant communities. So the first generation, they speak their native language tongue. And then the second, their children typically will understand it, but they won't speak it back.
That's me.
And then their children only speak English because their parents didn't learn how to speak it. They just understand it. And so that's one aspect of just becoming more American. And then two, like you said, we're just hearing more stories and the things that were not Nigerians don't have this. We don't do this. It's become this is us, and we are in the news for not always
The best
things. So, just something to think about how just every not only Nigerians but just every immigrant culture society goes through that.
Yeah.
And so I think we're seeing it now, and within our own chat groups that we're sending articles like, oh, look at this. This is what's happening. I need to hear about this. But also, we discussed earlier about praying. That prayer works wonders, but also medication and therapy and doctors. You can use them all in conjunction to get better.
Yes.
And I've even had some times where I've gone to a therapist when I've had some low times, and it's so interesting when I bring it up and I'm open my mouth about it. Some of my friends will say, "Oh yeah, I went to therapy, or I probably need therapy. I'm going through this time," and I just kind of think like sometimes we get sick, our body gets sick. Sometimes our brain just needs a refresh. It's not performing as it usually does. Absolutely. And if you get in earlier, you're able to get through things quicker, and then you use those tools for next time something may happen. You may not need it. It depends. Yeah. It depends on where you are and how your, I guess the chemical and hormones of your that are part of you. But it's not necessarily something that you may not need for the rest of your life. You need it for a couple of weeks, couple of months, and then later on, if you need be, you go back and get it. But it just depends on who you are and where you are in your life, and there should be no stigma for it. And I think that when afterwards I showed up as a better person. I was a better Uchenna. I was a better friend. I was better to myself. And so I just kind of think that is something that we should discuss and not necessarily make fun of. And I think that Annie, even though she's getting a lot of negative feedback in social media, I think I do want to give her flowers for being vulnerable on television. And hopefully this can be a conversation starter for others who may be going through a difficult time, but can use tools to get better, hopefully. And praying for Annie and her betterment also. So.
Amen. And, I'll just add that I think, 2020 was a rough year in American Black history, I think. And I think mental health treatment was on the rise. Like therapy was on the rise.
Yes.
And there are apps, there are, telemedicine. The number of therapists that I think have decided, I can go out on my own and I can do it from my home office. There are lots of people out there that can help you if you need it. And I think I've seen ads for BetterHelp. I tried it once. And it was very interesting how far back they want to go. Yes. To me, it was very, they're like, childhood, what's your relationship with your father? But the same way that you feel, and I'm talking talk therapy, there's also medication if you need it, right? But the same way you feel when you talk to a good friend and you get it off your chest, that's what therapy is. And you don't have to bother your good friends. And you don't have to worry about, what you talk about getting out there because there's doctor-patient privilege. Exactly. So I think everyone should consider it. I don't think that it's cost prohibitive as it used to be. I think there are sliding scales often. Right. If you need assistance in being able to pay for it, that is out there. It's often covered by insurance. So I think more people should consider it. I think more couples should consider it. And honestly, being married to a Nigerian man, I can understand when other people are like, well, he ain't gonna go. And I, in the same way, like in the church, what was it called? The prayer closet, that movie. I can't remember what it's called. You spend your time in the prayer closet and things get better. You spend your time individually in therapy and miraculously things get better.
Things get better.
Even if he doesn't go. So on the plane, you're told to put your own mask on first. And I'm talking to parents, like if you are not your best self, then you are not the best person for your kids or for your husband or for all the people that are relying on you. And the last thing I'll say on this is that postpartum, I had a baby. I have an 18-month-old, and I've never felt this way before. And they tell you, oh, it's the hormones. I've never. So when you talk about, like sometimes people need medicine, like sometimes your hormones are off, and sometimes the solution is so simple. If you got too much of this and they give you this and it regulates you, wouldn't you just do that?
Wouldn't you just do that to make your life easier? And you know what? No one has to know that you did it. If that is such a stigma for you, no one has to know.
Yeah.
If you're better, like you said, you want to show up for the best for your children, your family, your loved ones. So
yourself.
Why not? And then yourself, exactly, which is the most important. And speaking of pregnancy and surrogacy, so we're going to talk about surrogacy also and other things related to pregnancy. Ini Edo, she shared on the show, and it was a very emotional segment, that she used surrogacy to have her daughter after she had 6 miscarriages and multiple failed rounds of IVF. Her motherhood journey hasn't been easy. It's been marked with heartbreak, loss, and resiliency. And that's why, in the end, she decided to go through surrogacy. But during the show, it still felt like she was apprehensive about speaking about it. And at one point, she had a clash with Luis. They sometimes call him Louis. Sometimes Louis. They said his name was pronounced 3 different ways, so we'll go with Louis. During the scene related to surrogacy. So Louis decided to interview possible surrogates for his own child. So he goes back and he discusses that he is being exiled from his family for religious reasons. And so he wants to have a child in order to get back in the good graces of his family in the hopes that if he were to have a child, they could no longer deny him. So he brings Ini to help interview his surrogates, and she yells at him and gets very offended and saying that this is not right what he's doing. And he responds.
Which part?
Interviewing the surrogates.
Getting a child through surrogacy?
It seems that she still is triggered by it. And he said, well, didn't you interview surrogates also? So he did it in a different way, and she ended up leaving. And later on in the show, spoiler alert. So he ends up apologizing to her, which I kind of felt he did it. Yes, I think he did it just to keep the peace, but I felt for him. For him because I feel like there's no one way to surrogacy, to motherhood, whether that be, you're able spontaneously have a baby and carry all the way, whether it be adoption, IVF, surrogacy. There's many ways to do it, but it just shows that I feel that talking about stigmas, there's stigma with mental health, and then there's also stigma with not doing motherhood in the right way.
That's so true.
Thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I'm going to shout out another nonprofit. So I'm on the board of Need and Gives. And Need and Gives mission is about helping families make families. I'm not giving the verbatim mission, but it's about helping people, complete their families in the way that they would like. And, I think there is a stigma, right? Like women want to carry their own kids. And for whatever reason, sometimes women can't. And of course, the older you get, especially the way that they tell us, the harder it is. But young people go through the same thing. So in Anita Gives, we give fertility grants to people who apply and tell us their compelling stories, and then we have a certain amount of money that we can give every year, and we assist families in being able to do IVF or whatever the doctor says is right for them. And so since it was formed, this organization has given grants in Houston, in Seattle, and we just started Lagos a couple of years ago. And in fact, in February, our grant applications open, and you can go to
Can
aneden.org.
do you know how to spell
Yes.
Aneden?
ANEDEN gives, GIVES.org. And you can complete your application there. What's interesting is that we can give more grants in Nigeria with the same amount of money.
Okay.
And
But?
well, because of the Naira to dollar exchange rate, it keeps continuing to get worse. So we can give more. But the grants that we give in Houston and Seattle are a certain dollar amount, and it doesn't cover the entire treatment. It does cover the entire treatment in Nigeria, and that can include surrogacy. And I say all of that in part to encourage Nigerians who are going through this fertility journey to consider going to Nigeria. There's something in the water in Nigeria, so the success rate, the number of babies born to grant recipients is higher in Nigeria than in America. The incidence of twin births is higher.
It's higher
in Nigeria than in our American applicants and recipients. So the standard of care is still great. And if you're American and you go to Nigeria and you use the clinics, et cetera, there to get pregnant, you can still have your baby here. You can still have your OB-GYN, your obstetrician help you here and have the standard of care that there is here. But they do a great job in this area in Nigeria. So money is definitely a barrier for people here, because each round of IVF, what is it, 15 grand? I don't know. It
15,
might
20, 30, upwards, depending on various things.
Medicine, all of that stuff. And it's hell on your body. So that brings us to surrogacy. Like, I mean, we all know people who have tried and tried and tried, and every round is it's like having a baby and at the end not having your baby, which I can't imagine. So when people turn to surrogacy, which again, like, you got to look at the law so you can make sure that your baby is yours. But
exactly,
in Nigeria, it's so much less expensive than here. Here, the law depends on the state that you're in. Again, you could pay for it and pay for all the treatment for the mom, and at the end they could decide to keep the baby. Like, there's cases on that. But yeah, if you go to Nigeria, it's less expensive to find a surrogate. The standard of care is fine. So I don't fault a person for how they get the baby unless it's illegal. But if you have your bouncing baby at the end, then I think all's well.
All's well. And you're right. I know people who have gone to Nigeria, who are considering Nigeria to do surrogacy or IVF. And then also, some of them are quiet about doing that. They don't want people to know that they went there. But, to each their own. But when you share your stories, you're helping other people, especially in your own community. If that's your community of the people that you discuss, you're helping others achieve goals too. And there shouldn't be a stigma to it. It's just, it's your own life. Do what you want. And in the end, it's only you that you have to answer to here on earth.
Yeah.
It's when you close those doors at night at your home, you don't have to answer to, that auntie or that uncle or that former friend or friend. That doesn't really matter. It's your happiness at the end. And so but I also want to give any Edo her flowers for even coming to the show to discuss it, even though she didn't really want to discuss it too much or go deep into it. Um, it started a conversation like we're having here. It's a conversation to be had. And so, and we taught some of our listeners or shared with them some options out there. So I think that's
Absolutely.
a great thing. And both of them show, both Annie and Annie show resilience and continue to to strive for just a better you, a happier you, um, however you can, as long as you're not hurting other people. Hopefully, you can end up happy in the end. So that is our Wednesday Wahala segment. So we're going to also have another segment, and it's what we are digging. Abby, can you share with us what that section will entail?
Yes. So each episode, we'll try to share what we are enjoying at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be one thing, maybe it'll be multiple things, maybe
Yes.
it'll be a good, maybe it'll be a service, but something that we're digging. And hopefully, we'll share how you can get it, why we like it, our honest review. I think you can always expect honesty from us. So yeah, that's what this segment is about.
And if you are a business and you would like for our listeners to learn more about your service or your product, please reach out to us at shineyouripod@gmail.com. And we love to support your business. So, what are we both digging right now?
I think we're both smelling great
Mm,
because we're digging Brown Sugar Babe.
brown sugar
I
babe.
wish I had brought a box of it. I probably have a bottle of it in my purse.
Are you wearing any today?
I am. I am wearing her, Her. I have a lot. Her is actually not my current fave. My
Mhm.
current fave is probably Hush.
Mm.
But I'm wearing today because I have so many. I have to get them in the rotation.
Exactly.
But I'm wearing her. What are you wearing today?
So I usually have a go-to depending on where I'm going or who I'm seeing. So, but my favorite is Blonde Ambition.
Mm.
But today, what I did is I have a box. I just put my hand in and closed my eyes, and whatever came up was what I was going to wear. And that was Bad and Bougie.
Mm.
Brown Sugar Babe.
Apropos.
What did you say?
Apropos.
Yes. And Brown Sugar Babe oil is a luxurious skincare oil brand that's handcrafted, black owned, and rooted in celebrating melanin rich beauty and their mission to give your skin the glow it deserves with natural, nourishing oils. How did you hear about Brown Sugar Babe?
So in one of my groups on WhatsApp,
Hmm.
someone mentioned it, and I think they mentioned Rich Auntie and how
Hmm.
they keep getting stopped. I don't know. It might have been you, but I don't think it was because I don't think you were that much of a fan of Rich Auntie at the time.
No, I was not.
But yeah, they mentioned Rich Auntie and how it doesn't matter where they go. Somebody says you smell good, and they
Hmm.
can't help themselves, and they must. And so then I was like, let me look into that, as we
Hmm.
all were saying
Yes.
at the same time and looking into it. I think it was around the holidays last year.
Hmm. I remember seeing it on social media, the advertisement, but I just kept scrolling. And then in one of my other WhatsApp groups, a couple of girls were talking about it. And I know I was busy at the time. And I just kept, I didn't have the time for it. And then I don't know, something, I guess, like you, someone said they're always getting stopped because they smell so good. And then I was at the point where I could listen. I said, okay. And then one of my girlfriends, shout out to Rola, she said, start off with Marry Me and go
Mm.
from there. So, okay, so I got Marry Me and I started getting all of these people stopping me, saying, oh, you smell so good. Oh, this and that. So I was like, okay. So then I ordered more. And then Houston had Afrotech in 2024. And I think it's going to be in 25 and 26. But I went to an event and I had Blonde Ambition on and maybe one of my perfumes 'cause I like to layer it. That's another thing, just to learning about the layering of the different fragrances. And one of the waitresses that was working at the event stopped me and said, she told me, I've intentionally passed by you 3 times because you smell so good. And she kept stopping several times after that to smell me. And then people would stop me and say, oh, you smell so good. I was like, oh. I smell so good. So I ended up buying more and more. And then Abby and I are in that same WhatsApp group where it was discussed. Another person discussed it. And I was like, oh, hold my horse or whatever the term is. And I showed my big box of over $300 worth of brown sugar babe that I just purchased and say, look, I got all this. And I've purchased more since then. And I think this year there was a post that they have maybe 30 to 30 plus new fragrances that are coming out in 2025. So it'll be a lot to smell and send our money to. So yeah. So
save your coins.
Yes. And where can we find brown sugar babe oils? I think it's brownsugarbabe.com or brownsugarbabeoil.com. It's easy to find and we highly recommend it. Yeah. So I would say, depending on your more fruity or more, I don't know what the other term would be, but I was told to start with Marry Me.
Is it gourmand?
Sure.
I don't even know what that means.
Sure. We'll go with that. If you are, the advice given to me was start with Marry Me. I would go with that and just see if you like it and get with your friends and you all order and you have a brown sugar babe party and where you can smell different scents.
Mm-hmm. And we did a dinner recently.
Yes.
And we brought our hauls, the ones we didn't like as much. It's odd, but you're not going to like them all.
Mm-hmm,
and
true.
You're going to find someone else who does like it, even though you did test it. There are only a few that I did tested, but there were. And I found other people that could take those. So that's great. So yeah, pair up with a friend, like Uchenna said. There's a shipping cost, but your shipping cost is waived when you spend over a certain amount. So if you don't want to break the bank, just get with some other people and y'all buy it together. I think they range in price from $15 for a 2-ounce bottle to $80, $90 for an
larger
8-ounce.
bottles. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then they have perfume oils. They have candles.
Yes.
I've heard people talk about with some of the fragrances, putting it in your diffuser or your
true. Mm-hmm.
What's it called? Aromatherapy container, so that your whole house can smell great.
Like
yes.
And I also put them in my locks.
Oh, you do?
So I do. And sometimes
fragrance.
when I, shake my hair, I'm like, ooh, someone goes for the kiss, they smell my hair.
Yes.
So it's another place to put them. So we highly recommend them, and we think you would like them also.
Yes.
So that's what we're digging this week. And let us know in the comments your favorite brown sugar babe oil.
Yes. That way we can buy some more.
Exactly. You've been listening to the Shine Your Eye podcast, where the gist never ends. If you like this episode, give us a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen or watch us. And join the family. We'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, feedback, and ideas for future episodes by emailing us at shineyoureyepod@gmail.com or connecting with us on social media at Shine Your Eye Pod.
Till next time, shine your eye, stay sharp, and keep the gist flowing. See you soon on another episode.